Well, we didn't learn very much in yesterday's spring statement. The economic forecasts have barely changed since the autumn, a little bit less borrowing this year, but not much less borrowing over the coming years, and that's largely because the Office of Budget Responsibility thinks that the economy itself isn't going to grow any faster. Important context for this is we've had dreadful growth over the last 10 years. The last decade of growth has been essentially the worst since the 1920s, and over that period we've had very poor earnings growth. That's the worst, Mark Carney, the Governor of the Bank of England, thinks since the 1860s. So we've had a very poor decade, and the bad news is it's not going to get much better. The OBR thinks we'll only be growing at 1.4, 1.5% a year for the next 5 years, well below pre-crisis levels. Now, the Chancellor said that he thinks we're about to turn a corner. He talked about debt going down. Well, part of its problem is that debt isn't going down over the next 5 years, certainly once you take out some of the strange accountancy that goes on with these things. So debt is stuck towards 80% of national income. And that brings us to the biggest challenge the Chancellor faces over the next few years. He said he's going to have a spending review next year in 2019, and he's going to set the spending envelope for that in his autumn budget. And he wants to spend a bit more, and not surprisingly, given the pressures on public services and the political pressures on him to spend some more. Can he spend more? Well, can he spend more and meet his target to get the deficit down to zero by the mid-2020s and keep debt under control? That looks like a really big challenge, because just to keep spending at its same level as a fraction of national income is going to cost him another 15 billion a year or so, and then another big increase in taxes will be required to get to budget balance. That's a 30 billion hole in his numbers if he wants to keep spending going up in line with national income and he wants to meet his target for budget balance. Will he both be able to increase spending and get to his fiscal target of budget balance in the mid-2020s? I very much doubt that. The cost of doing that in increased taxes, unless the economy does much better than expected, will be very significant indeed.